Good afternoon. Major Jason Bogue with the Prince George's County Police Department. I'm commander of our Narcotic Enforcement Division. I want to thank you all for coming and helping get our message out to the public in reference to synthetics in Prince George's County. About 3 months ago, we started an investigation in reference to synthetics in our county, and that was brought forth because we know the issues that are going on regionally in Prince George's County, in the region around Prince George's County in relation to synthetics. That investigation culminated yesterday with the execution of 3 search warrants in our county, 2 on Marlboro Pike, 1 on Allentown Road. What you see here before you is what we seized out of those 3 search warrants. We seized almost 1,800 packs of synthetics, and I do not want to use the term synthetic marijuana. It's not like marijuana. It's 100 times more powerful than marijuana. It's almost like synthetics are like crack on steroids, okay? The potency of this is unreal. It almost mimics PCP, especially when we have to deal with individuals in our communities that have taken this synthetics. It sets them over the edge. And when we have to deal with that, it presents a danger to them, it presents a danger to us and our community members. But one of the main reasons we're here as well is to get the message out to our community. We want our schools to know. We want the public to know. We want our businesses to know. But most importantly, we need our parents to know. Because if you look at this, I mean, Bizarro, Scooby Snacks with Scooby-Doo on the cover of it. I mean, this is all geared towards our kids. And I mean, so people that are in middle school, kids in middle school, are buying this and using this. Why is it called synthetic marijuana? Because inside of these packages, there's a green leafy substance that resembles marijuana, but has nothing like it at all. The other things you see here on the table, different type of paraphernalia that's used to smoke the synthetics, it's ingested the same way as marijuana is. And then we also have other packages here. You can see this. Yeah, I don't know what you want to do with that, but it's colorful. Again, yesterday, with the culmination of these 3 search warrants, we seized all of this, as well as, about $900 in currency from the 3 different establishments. At this point, no arrests were made. That will be done at a later point, if it is done, in consultation with our state's attorney's office. And after our drug lab does an analysis of all this to determine if any of the substances in these packages are illegal substances. And that's one of the challenges we face, not here, just regionally as well as nationally, about how do we charge people in relation to synthetics. And we're looking at different legislative things here in the county that will hopefully aid us in that in the future, along with our state's attorney's office and county attorney's office. Is there anything I can answer for anybody right now?
Give a street value, or what does one of these packets go for?
Typically, when we go in and made different purchases from these establishments. And then let me get to that too. But to answer your question, typically $20 to $30 a pack. Some are a little bigger than others, but typically it's $20 to $30 is the cost. Over the course of our investigation, we hit over 90 establishments in Prince George's County, all over the county. And we only made 8 different buys out of our establishments. So that tells us a couple things. Is it a huge, huge problem in Prince George's County? We don't believe so. But the reason we're doing this, again, is to help get ahead of the problem in case it does become a huge problem. And then also, just again, we're here for the education piece and trying to educate our parents and our schools and our businesses.
Sorry, sir, I know you explained it, but all of these substances that we see before us, are they all intended to be smoked?
Yes.
They're all smokable?
Yeah, all these are smokable. Up here is liquid, which we can use with an inhaler as well, or like a vape pipe. And you said the total value of everything here is, just over $33,000.
And when you say that there are difficulties in charging, it's because some of these substances, just to be clear, are not deemed illegal.
That's correct. The DEA has deemed 28 different types of substances, compounds, to be illegal. Maryland mirrors that legislation. So if in one of these packets, I could easily say, looks exactly the same, and we could take this one packet to the drug lab, and one of those 28 compounds will be there, and in this packet, it won't. So if we bought it from the 2 different stores, I can't charge anyone for this but I can for this.
Where did it come from?
Most of the synthetics, as far as the compounds used to put on the green leafy substances that are inside here, come from China.
How far, can you trace it all the way back to China, but for these packets, how far back can you say that, it was this point before it got to this convenience store, this
Right.
before it got in that warehouse?
And a lot of that it goes back to our investigations and the interviews we're conducting with store owners, people that purchased it, because you work your way up the food chain to find out where it comes from. As far as how far up the food chain it goes, I can't discuss it right now because that's still part of the investigation.
You talk about the severity and the seriousness of these drugs. In the district, there's been some talk that they can lead to some violent acts.
Yes.
Have you found that as well? Can you talk about if there is any correlation with someone using these products and perhaps becoming violent?
Here in Prince George's County, we can't attribute anything as far as to synthetics, as far as with homicides or violent crime. But the problem is also it mirrors the effects of PCP so much that sometimes we may not know. Was it a synthetic or was this person on PCP? We can't answer that a lot of the time. So I don't have a good number as far as that because we just don't know.
So can you explain if you didn't make any arrests because you don't know if any of this is illegal? So under what authority do you confiscate everything? I mean, what happens if you test this and you determine, it doesn't fall within under the Schedule?
Schedule 1.
Right. And what happens at that point?
Well, what we did was, to get to the point we're here now, our undercover officers in narcotics, who did an outstanding job in this investigation, they put a lot of time and effort into it, we went in and made undercover buys. And when we made those buys, so if we went in and bought AK-47, what we did was we took this package and we took it to the drug lab. And then the drug lab at that point determined if it was one of the 28 illegal properties, and based off that we obtained search warrants because it is Schedule 1. And at that point, based on our search warrants and what's written in the search warrants, we have the right at that point to seize what we believe to be illegal compounds. Now, if come 3 months from now, say, and I'm just estimating, we get reports back from the drug lab that, again, this package isn't, this package is, what do we do with it? Could someone petition to get it back? I suppose they could. But that's why we're trying to go forward right now with common sense legislation to basically with a broader paintbrush and call it what it is. Just because it may be one of the compounds that's not illegal, I mean, we need legislation that will allow us to confiscate all this because, I mean, the end goal here isn't for us to arrest people. It's to get this off the streets and out of our kids' hands. I mean, we're not going to arrest a clerk in a store who sold us this, who's just doing a job. We get that. But legislation needs to enable us to go after the store owners who are bringing this in. And that's what we're trying to do now.
And so just so that I understand, in your undercover operation where you made some buys, those packets that you did buy have come back as testing positive.
That's correct.
For the synthetics.
That's correct, because if they didn't come back positive, we couldn't get search warrants. There were places that we went and made buys that were successful making buys that it didn't come back. So that's why there were other places that we did make successful buys we didn't do search warrants on yesterday because the compounds weren't illegal.
You said that there were 3 executed and you did undercover buys at 8 locations, remember? Okay.
That's correct. And that was after we attempted at 90 different establishments around the county. Now, could it be possible that some of those establishments just didn't sell to us because they didn't know us? Sure. That's possible. But again, with those numbers, we think it's a pretty good sampling of where we sit as far as where the problems are in the community.
Cities across the country have talked about the proliferation of these synthetic drugs. What we're looking at here, is this something that would even have been possible 5 years ago, or do you think that this really is something that we've seen recently?
No, I think it's definitely recently because it wasn't really till 2005 that this was even developed. And it wasn't until 2011 that the DEA made 3 components, or I can't remember if it was 3 or 5, Schedule 1 components. So it's been 2011 that this has really started to grow. So it's really hit in the past couple of years because pre-2005 this didn't even exist.
Do you know, the district I think is, a little bit ahead of the curve on you,
Yes,
both good and bad on this. I mean, it's
Yes.
been a much bigger problem in the district, and they've already had some legislative fixes where they're allowed now they've started closing down businesses and prosecuting business owners and distributors. they've also seen a high number of overdoses. Have you experienced that in the county? Do you see the health impact? Have you experienced overdoses here?
Yes, but do I have a quantitative number? No, I don't. And again, the problem here is, like I said before, a lot of times these mirror PCP. So is it a PCP overdose? Is it this? Sometimes we just don't know. Have we been called, as far as my investigators that work for me in narcotics, to different schools for overdoses that we are attributing to this? Yes, that's happened in the past year. But is it huge, and are we seeing it every day? No, we're not, as far as the overdoses.
Are you concerned that with the district again being, so forceful on this, that it may be pushing this market into Prince George's County?
It is a concern, and that's one of the reasons why we went to the lengths we did to do this operation for the past couple months, because with our partners in D.C. and what they've attributed to some of their violence, we don't want to see that here. So that's why we're trying to get this message out, and again, maybe get ahead of the curve by doing some no-nonsense legislation that just doesn't deal with the components of this. So that way, again, hopefully those problems don't come here.
Maybe, could you tell me, you said that the products, and I'm looking at the video, that they're sold at tobacco stores. Is there an age requirement for these young kids, since you say they're targeting toward the young kids? Is there an age requirement to be shown at the counter? And are they sold behind the counter, or do you have to request to be able to purchase these?
Typically, few things. Typically, no, there is no age requirement, because if you look at most of these packages, it says not for human consumption on the package. It'll say right here, not for human consumption on the package. And typically they'll be advertised as, excuse me real quick, as potpourri or incense. And then that's how they get around the FDA, by saying it's not for human consumption. So because of that, there is no legal age requirement. It used to be years ago, people would tape these up to the windows in the gas stations to advertise, basically, you can come in and get it. Now, it's gone more underground, I'd say, because when we go in and we do our searches, it's not sitting right there. It's hidden. It's hidden in these stores. And when we went into these stores yesterday and obtained all this, the money was kept in a separate place. So if it's legal and it's fine, well, why aren't you just throwing it in the till? Why are you keeping the money separate? So those are indicators that show us they know what's going on. They know it's illegal. And those are things we document for Inflator. There are court proceedings.
What percentage of this, what we see in front of us here, is the amount of synthetic drugs in the county? Can you even quantify something like that? If you got this from just 3 stores.
Right. And I can't put a number on it. And hopefully by doing this, we're going to get the word out. And at the end, would like to give the number to everything for crime solvers, because if anyone has information about their local mom and pop store next door to a high school that's selling this, we just may not know about it. So we got to get the information. So I don't think it's been broadcast as well as it could be here in the county, and that's one of the reasons we're here today. So hopefully we can find that number out. But again, I go back to, of the 90 stores we hit this past summer and only getting 8 different buys, is it everywhere? I don't think so, but could it be? Yes.
And you might not be able to answer this, Major, but how aggressive is the county looking to create legislation to be able to attack this problem?
We just started this past summer, myself and other members in narcotics, in consultation with the state's attorney's office, in consultation with our county attorney's office. We have the D.C. legislation. Baltimore County is the only county in the state of Maryland that has legislation in relation to county code on the books in relation to synthetics. And again, it goes back to more of that no-nonsense legislation. And we've been in consultation with Baltimore County, because why reinvent the wheel? They've got it through. So we've talked to them, and we're trying to come up with the legislation now to mirror Baltimore County, throw some stuff in from D.C., trying to figure out what makes sense for Prince George's County, and hopefully we'll have that to the county council this session, and we can get some movement on it.
Would you like authority to close stores? Like D.C. has, chief has the authority to close stores.
Yeah. We've discussed that with the county attorney's office. We've discussed it with the state's attorney's office. I can't really say at this point, because we're still in negotiations about that, what's best for Prince George's County and our businesses.